I have with me Ananya Panday, aka Bella, who has instructed us to call her Bay. Isn't that right, Ananya?
Yes, very strictly.
I think that joke got old like when the trailer came out, so apologies for that.
No,
But you
no,
must have.
no, no. I would really love if everyone called me Bay, especially after watching the show.
Yes, and I like when something fresh, refreshing, and fun comes out on OTT because it's all gotten so dark and so gritty, and I love that too as well. But when something so fun and chirpy comes in, it's always a nice break. What drew you to Bella and to Call Me Bay?
No, I think one of the biggest reasons, as you said, was that, it kind of feels like a ray of sunshine, when everything around, which I also love watching the drama and the thriller and the crime. And, I'm a big lover of all of that. But you also do need your happy shows that kind of make you feel like you can just breathe and not think too much and just watch something. And if there is a message, then well and good. But, nothing is being screamed into your faces. I think having that is also important. And also, comedy. I never explored comedy before as a genre, even though I've done Pati Patni Aur Wo and Dream Girl too, which have been very successful. But I was not the one doing the comedy in those. I was simply reacting to situations. But in this, I got to find my comic timing as well. And I also just bought into the world. I loved the characters, not just Bella, but everyone around her had such a round, full arc, and everyone was so unique in the way that they were. So the writing of the show was just so refreshing and new.
I like what you said here that very seldom do we see women actually doing comedy because the parts are not written for them that way. They are almost instrumental in the comedies happening around them, and that is refreshing. So, A, how much of a challenge was that? B, how much of fun was that?
It was both a challenge and fun. The toughest parts always end up being the most fun parts as well. Because when you're shooting comedy, you don't know if a joke is landing because everyone has already heard that joke like 20 times before. So you're just like, why is no one laughing behind the monitor? But then it's also because they can't laugh 30 times.
Right.
So I think it's just about also in every take doing something different because you
Mhm.
can't get too rigid with comedy. Something that I felt with the show, I was very self-conscious. Like, should I make so many expressions? Should I say it like this? Is it too much? But I think once you kind of break that barricade and just play and go for it, then you can always adjust it upar niche. But you kind of have to just break that fear a little bit and just go full out and then find your nuances within that.
I like when the trailer came out, there were so many people calling it so refreshing. Others were like almost all already without having watched it, trying to pin it to this and that. Oh, looks similar to this, it looks similar to that. Two Broke Girls, Emily in Paris. Now, I haven't watched the show, but I know you have been a part of it. You know that it's different, and I know that you wouldn't be a part of something if it was like 100% copy of anything. So, how is it different in your own words to something that is already out there?
So I feel like this is a genre, like this is
Ah,
there is a space for a clueless to exist, but also a legally blonde to
yes,
exist, but also an Aisha to exist, but also a character like Pooh to exist, and a Schitt's Creek. There have been so many of these. So we're not
yes.
claiming to be the first people who do this because this is a genre that's existed from time and again. This rags to riches we've seen riches to rags also. So that has existed, but I feel like sometimes that kind of content coming from India, I think should be a thing of I wouldn't say pride, but I think of happiness that it's something coming from our own country and something that people can culturally contextualize. Because how much ever you watch a Schitt's Creek, it's still different when a girl from Delhi is shifting to Mumbai and you get all those references. So I feel like people should also see it like that.
I one of the best things that I like is that it's slightly meta. It is that you're making fun of not just yourself, but the things that happen around you, but also things that have been spoken about people in privilege. And that particularly that one line that in the trailer that everyone's talking about, taken from your interview from a few years ago and taken on a light note. What was your first reaction when you read that in the script? That oh, it's making fun of something that happened to me a few years ago.
I found it very tongue in cheek. Like I found it very fascinating because it's not unreal that Bella would be in a situation like that. It felt correct to the character and it didn't feel like it was being done for some sensational purpose.
Uh,
That's the thing with the show. It's very self-aware. Even in the trailer, the words privilege and wealth are all highlighted, because it's like, yeah, we know that this show is about that, but get over it and get past it and then see the character for what they are. So I think that was the best part of the show, that everything was a take on something. It was our take on something and it was aware. You're playing on the front foot already, saying that we know these things now, come and see this world with us.
Do you think, Ananya, that you have a niche? And I ask this because some of your best performances, according to me, Gehraiya and Kho Gaye, were urban girls. And you have played like sort of small town girls as well in Dream Girl particularly, and I love that particularly. The accent that you took was fabulous, flawless. But here you're again an urban girl in a very sort of privileged surrounding, going to Mumbai from Delhi. So do you think you have a niche? And that's not a good thing. I'm not saying about stereotyping, but sort of like a type of girl that you've made your own.
I used to overthink that a lot, and I used to be like, am I being put into a box? Is this all that I can do? But I've come to realize that there's no problem with that, because there's so many versions within that also that you can play. If
Right.
something is working for you and people are liking you in a certain thing, and within that you are also growing and exploring, then there's no reason to fight it or try to do something drastic to just shock people. That's the wrong reason to do something. I don't think I should play someone from a different background just because people feel like I need to now balance it out. I think as long as I'm growing as an actor and I'm doing something different and within my realm, I'm making the character relatable to a wider audience. I think that's good enough. And obviously, this really does feel like the beginning. Like it feels like I'm starting out
Right.
a new chapter, and there's like a lot more to discover and a lot more to see. But I think I don't want to fight the tide. I don't want to fight with what is where I'm learning and what I'm growing with and what I'm understanding about myself also as an actor.
Vera comes across as a person who does seek validation, and not just validation. She wants to know what people are saying about her. And you are a public figure now, so the number of people talking about you is like exponentially higher. Are you someone like that, or were you ever like sort of reading the reviews, reading what's on your comments, and now have you stopped, or are you still the same? What's it like?
Comments I don't read much anymore. Even if I read it, it's like I find it funny. I don't think I get too serious about it. Reviews and I think audience reactions to work is something I will always take seriously because I draw a lot of my validation from my work. So just the reactions of people there, it would matter to me, but I don't think I care as much or let it affect me as much as I used to let it affect me before. As long as I can filter out what is important and what's not.
And what is constructive and what is just for the sake of
Exactly.
mudslinging? Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that comes with sort of experience, I suppose. You're still
Yeah.
getting into the industry, the
Yeah.
hang of it, how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just one final question before I wrap it up is that, and I don't think it would have been put to you this way, is that do you think people who come from within the industry, as the word star kids is used, are held to a higher standard? Because I have always felt that sometimes just good enough isn't good enough. Even if you're doing good, it's like, oh, but they need to do better to prove themselves. I have felt that. Have you?
I feel like every situation has its pros and cons. Being from the industry, obviously, as you said, you're held in high regard because they have a direct comparison to your
Mm.
parents or some relative of yours to be like, oh, but this one was a better actor. Now, you're
Yeah.
constantly comparing their, child to them. So I feel like that's there. But then obviously the pro of that is that you have more opportunities, you get into rooms much easier. And then from the outside, there's often that complaint, people keep saying that, oh, y'all crib about people from the industry, but then you all only come and watch them. People say that. So then that's that whole debate that, oh, is it that they get more eyeballs? Do they not? So there's
Mhm.
this constant. There's always a pro and a con in a situation. I feel so. Both sides have their ups and downs, but I don't think personally I'm very proud of where I come from, and I don't want to be ashamed of who my father is. I want to, he's done so much work. He's come from a family of doctors, and he was,
Right.
the first actor in his family. And now, if I can take his legacy forward, for me, that's a feeling of pride, and I don't want to,
Right.
make that a negative thing.
As you shouldn't, of course, you shouldn't completely because you cannot stop who you are, and that's
Exactly.
just incidental. You were born there, right?
And I had the same dream, and I feel like if I was in any other family, I would have wanted to be an actor only because this has been. I don't know if it's maybe subconsciously because my dad's an
Right.
actor. I wanted to be an actor, but I can't imagine myself doing or being anything else. So I yeah.
No, no, we're happy about this that you're here.